You first of all, that's hilarious. Second of all, you don't know us super well, but before our old kind of podcast setup, Sam used to have these photos on the wall of like his like personal hall of fame, and it'd be like, you know, some inspirations from business. Like Sam, before he started the hustle, he really loved Ted Turner. He's like, dude, this guy like made the fucking news business, and he's a baller. Like he attacked it in this way. He had Nate Diaz up there. He's like, I love this guy. He's a UFC fighter. He's like just a badass. It just takes this attitude into life that we like. You know, I like Conor McGregor, and I think, you know, he's interesting, and I like, you know, certain things that he's done about his life. You know, I don't like all of these people. I just like certain things. I took inspiration from certain things at certain periods of certain people's lives. Who are some people that you were inspired by, either in the business world or the non-business world, that you think are, you sort of have admired, or you've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole and just, you know, binged a bunch of their content or whatever?
I'll start with Vince McMahon. You know, so when I started to be this like bad guy, and I realized that there was nothing I could do to change that narrative. Like I could do a 2-hour interview with ABC.
You're the heel.
And they would take the 30 seconds that fucked me and make the 30 seconds loop and like forget the other, you know, 119 minutes. Those 30 seconds are the ones that are going to be on TV. I realized like there's no way out of this, and I'm going to have to embrace being the bad guy. And some people will get the joke and some people won't. But you know, fuck it. If that's what people want, then I'll be the bad guy. And I sort of embraced kind of being this jerk and trying to dress down, you know, the so-called authority figures by sort of pointing the mirror back at them. So Vince sort of like had that like kafabe wrestling, you know, they call it a heel in wrestling, where, you know, he's the owner of the company, but he's also kind of like breaking down that fourth wall of like some of the stuff he's talking about on the show is like related to actual boardroom battles. And like some of the, you know, stuff on the show is completely contrived. And, you know, it's just a fantastic product. And I like the company and what they've done with it over the years. So, you know, I'm a big fan of Vince's. You know, I like a lot of like different scientists and stuff like that. You know, so business people themselves, you know, there aren't a whole lot that I like point to and say, oh, that's somebody I'd like to be like or something like that. But growing up, I always liked Bill Gates, who was kind of this, you know, smug, hated, by the way. In 94, Bill Gates was sued for monopoly, but his company was, not him. And people wanted to tear this guy apart. And I was just sort of coming up. I was like 11 years old. I loved computers. I started programming. And I was like, well, everyone hates Bill Gates. And the hacker community hated Bill Gates. And it's because he wanted to make money. And he was not apologetic about it. And I kind of liked this guy. I liked the contrarianism of being like, you know what? I like Microsoft. I like Bill Gates. No one's willing to say that. And like, we wouldn't have these things that we're all using Microsoft products right now. Like, what would we be doing without it? And, you know, the Linux nerds would be like, well, you know, we don't have to use them. And it's like, look, the whole world's using them for a reason. They're pretty good products. And I just sort of liked taking that bad guy. And at the time, he was so really hated and sort of saying, you know, I'm on his side. You know, the media was on his case because he was the richest guy in the world, but couldn't afford a good haircut. You know, they always just dog him for no reason. And he spent the rest of his life like trying to walk back on that. And like, how cool would it have been if he sort of embraced the narrative? Like, yeah, you know, because privately he does embrace the narrative, right? It's just sort of this public image of like, no, I'm this benevolent philanthropist. You don't understand. You know, privately, the guy's still just as ruthless, still just as vicious and just as energetic and intense as he was when he was a kid. So, you know, it's all this like, you know, imagery for nothing. And, you know, there's a number of other folks like Henry Nicholas, who started Broadcom. You know, I mean, there's just so many people that, you know, I've studied in business over the years that I like. Tom Petterfee from Interactive Brokers. So many people I admire that did things their way, and made it work. People especially who sort of have come from nothing or came from like with very little on their back. A lot of people dog George Soros, you know, who's, you know, a true American success story. And people sort of forget that, you know, or don't understand that like all this stuff in politics and like Soros funded prosecutor and stuff like that, guy barely pays attention to that shit. You know, I think that like the idea that he's spending his day like plotting with, you know, the World Economic Forum to like run the world is this like right-wing meme that's just not based in reality. And, you know, the guy's work in hedge funds and investing is like truly remarkable, how he came from like sort of the, you know, World War II basically to America to become truly successful. So people like that, I admire. You know, anyone who's sort of had this against all odds type of success. You know, even people like Robert Smith, who run Vista, people who have like really bucked, any conventions and expectations of them to be really successful. So there's so many people that I have up there on that wall. And again, it's not, like you said, it's not every piece of their life, but little pieces have sort of made me.
I have Bill
who I am.
Gates on mine because of the interview where about the chair, jumping over the chair.
Jumps above the chair.
One of the, I still think that's the most gangster like CEO interview moment. I don't even know how this came up. And then
I think the interviewer was like, I heard a rumor that you could, you know how to jump over a chair. He goes, yeah.
No, he goes,
do it.
He goes, well, it depends on the height of the chair. And then it cuts to a chair and him clearing it like Tony Hawk. And I have no explanation why this was like, is this what TV interviews were like back then? Like, I can't imagine something like that's like being like Donald Trump. Like, is it true you could win an arm wrestling match against anyone? He's like, well, rolls up his sleeve and just like punks.
Dude,
Tucker
I'm watching
Carlson.
this video, by the way.
Amazing.
It's not that impressive. It's not a big chair. You don't think you could jump over a chair?
Never would have done.
He's such a nerdy, shrimpy guy. He's actually 5'11". But like, there's this like
he doesn't look like he
impression
could
that
jump
he's
over that chair.
Yeah.
Dude, he takes a step. I bet you could jump over a chair, bro. You need a chair? I'll get you a chair.
Dude,
we'll jump this chair.
I want to recreate this scene. We'll put it on our YouTube. I don't think I could jump over this chair. And I was like, I played basketball. I think I would, in my head, I'm more athletic than Bill Gates. But honestly, I can't claim that until I do this chair.
I don't know, man. He's probably only 35 in this video. I think you could jump a chair.
I turn 35 next week. It's perfect. Me versus Bill Gates head to head, pay-per-view. We got to do it.